Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? I just finished rewatching that Sixers-Clippers game just to study Shake Milton, just to watch his 39-point performance once again because it was outrageous, because it was so entertaining, and I really wanted to dissect what was so special. And I think right from opening tip-off, you saw him so focused. You saw him so dialed in. I think the best way to describe it is hungry. He was hungry because Brett Brown told him not too long ago that he realized realistically would not be seeing any playing time, and I have an opinion on that because there are so many individuals out there that can't believe Brett Brown hasn't utilized this guy earlier in the season, and he did. He actually did utilize him earlier in the season, and he wasn't performing. He wasn't playing at a high rate, so then he decided to not play him as much. Listen, I would move on from Brett Brown in this offseason, all right? I'm coming out and saying it, and I've been saying it for a couple months now. If this team underachieves like it seems like they were going to, and you look at the path they're on, it doesn't scream NBA Finals, I would move on from Brett Brown. I think it is time to get a new voice, a new culture, and just somebody different, just a new face for this core group of guys of Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. It's time to mix something up. With that being said, every little thing that occurs is not Brett Brown's fault, and it seems that people believe that is the truth, and it's not. And I got stats to prove that that is false, that it's Brett Brown's fault every time. Like, that is false. So, courtesy of Kevin Kincaid of Crossing Broad, he tweeted this out, and I couldn't agree more. When you look at Shake Milton in November, who shot 24% and finished 0 for 8 from 3, he had plenty of time to try and make some noise. He was not executing. He was not playing well. He also played 20-plus minutes in 8 straight games. He wasn't executing. He wasn't playing anywhere close to what he has been playing over the last decent stretch, which we will get to. So when the Sixers go out and get deadline help, Alec Burks, Glenn Robinson III, it's natural that those guys would get implemented based off of how they played in Golden State. Glenn Robinson III was knocking down shots from 3. He actually looked good in Golden State. Now he's confused and he's a total mess mentally, and I can't stand his approach whatsoever. That's on him. That's a him problem. And Alec Burks comes in the mix. It makes sense logically that someone like Shake, who had time here to play, who battled injury early on, got some time to play, didn't really play that well, it's common sense that he would get pushed down in the lineup, in the depth chart. Now, what he did was he made up for that, and he really did prove himself right, and he's been playing fantastic basketball. Kudos to him, but sometimes in sports, players get looked over. And when you think about sports in general, how many undrafted free agents work out in the NFL? How many 7th round, 6th round picks end up being something? How many times did someone not make a varsity team and then they end up going D1 in college basketball? This stuff happens all the time. It's the nature of sports, and those players, they step up based off of those events occurring because they get looked down upon, because Brett Brown told Shake Milton, hey, I don't think you're going to play much. When he finally got that opportunity, he is now mentally focused. He is now dialed in differently. He knows the next time I get my chance, I'm going to prove him wrong. And some athletes let that sit in their stomachs, and then when they get on the court, when they get to start a game, they make sure they really go out there and they dominate because they don't know how many more chances they have left. And it seems like Shake Milton did that in this spot. Now, that's not Brett Brown's fault, that because Shake didn't perform early on and then because he got help at the deadline, that Shake Milton started to move down in the rotation. It makes sense that that happened. Like, it actually is logical for that to occur. When I spit the numbers at you, 24% in November, 0 for 8 from 3, not knocking down any shots. Like, it actually makes total sense why that occurred. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be proud of Shake Milton for proving him wrong. No, that's phenomenal. You absolutely can be pumped for that to happen, and hopefully he's a spark plug that this team needs. But to think that this is Brett Brown's fault, that he wasn't getting minutes, no, it's not on Brett Brown for not giving him minutes. There was a reason why, and the reason was he wasn't performing like the way he is right now when he had time playing 20-plus minutes in basketball games. I mean, come on. I don't get it sometimes. I just don't get it. Not every little thing is on Brett Brown. There are things that are absolutely go on his plate, where he deserves a ton of criticism, where his rotations sometimes are bad, where early throughout a couple years, the turnovers, huge problem. Now, the turnovers got fixed. Nobody ever mentions that whatsoever, right? The Sixers don't turn the ball over 20 times anymore. It took them a couple years to figure that out. Sixers don't turn the ball over at all anymore. I mean, you're talking significantly lower. No one ever gives him praise for that. I just find it funny. And once again, I would move on from Brett Brown in this offseason if the Sixers underachieve like it seems like they are going to do. So I'm not this huge Brett Brown supporter. I think there needs to be a change. I think there needs to be a new philosophy. I don't like his pick-and-roll defense. There's a ton of things I don't like about him, but I don't put 100% on the blame on him every single night for every single problem when it comes to this basketball team, because there are so many factors that come into play. All right, now that I got that out, we can enjoy what Shake Milton did. We can talk about his 39-point performance and what he has done over the last decent stretch, because it has been absolutely awesome. First, though, do not forget, I'm giving away free Sixers tickets for the game March 11th against the Detroit Pistons at the Wells Fargo Center at 7:30 p.m. To qualify, all you need to do, two things. Go follow me on Twitter at Broads81 and retweet my pinned tweet, which talks about this giveaway. So that's all you have to do. Retweet that pinned tweet and follow me on Twitter. Also, I do have a SeatGeek promo code, which saves you $20 off of your total purchase when ordering tickets to the NBA games, the NHL games, college basketball, or even a concert. So it's a no-brainer to use the promo code BROADS today. All right, so 40 minutes, 39 points, and 5 assists against the Clippers. What I really loved in this game is how versatile he was. He was so versatile. Pick and roll game, incredible. I mean, it was awesome. Even got to give some praise to Al Horford for some of the screens that he set. It allowed Shake Milton to get open. It allowed him to then take that three-pointer that was wide open. Or he would dribble drive in traffic. He was able to execute in traffic. It didn't matter if there were 2 bodies near him, 3 bodies near him. He was going to the rack, and he was putting the ball up on the glass. How about his defense? He had that steal on Patrick Beverley by the perimeter, and then he goes down full speed on the other side of the court and slams it down hard, and it was absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal. I didn't know he could take off like that. I didn't know he had that aggressiveness in him. And speaking of aggressive, he was just aggressive all night long, whether it was shooting the ball, whether it was just dribbling and being a playmaker. You saw his instincts come in, and I always liked his game. I never would have expected in a million years that at this point in his career, he would drop a essentially 40-point night. I mean, that's special. That is so hard to do. So that's why this is so meaningful. This isn't a, hey, he dropped 25 or he dropped 30. I mean, you're talking close to 40 points. Setting an NBA record with 13 straight threes. I think he was so disgusted and felt so disrespected in a positive way from an athletic, competitive standpoint, being an athlete, being so competitive and showing that fire, that when he realized, listen, I got a chance right now, I am going to make sure people know my name, Shake Milton. And he's even on NBA The Jump and all that now based off of that game on primetime television against Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers, without Ben Simmons, without Joel Embiid. He can actually create his own shot. Do the Sixers have any player that can realistically create their own shot? Now, I'm not going overboard and saying that Shake Milton is going to be this dominating force that's going to take the Sixers to the promised land. I'm intrigued for what he can bring to the table. I need to see more than just the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 basketball games that I have written down right now that makes me feel happy and excited about this kid. I need way more than that. I'm not sold after one really special game and then 5 other games that are pretty decent. Like, that isn't enough for me. I need way more long-term great basketball out of him to really get sucked in, but I'm absolutely intrigued. But when I talk about these plays that he's making in the skill set, that's what makes me kind of feel optimistic, because the skill sets that I'm talking about, all of these, that's stuff that works in this league. And you can relate that to Korkmaz. And when Korkmaz drops these big games and he has these nights where he's knocking down shots from 3, it doesn't have that same feel. Shake Milton passes the eye test. He's athletic. His body is built in this way that I think can actually work in this league. I mean, you can see the way that he attacks the game and his basketball IQ, all of it. It just looks smooth, and it looks like that he is capable of being something that can work in this league. Once again, I'm not going overboard and saying this kid's James Harden, this kid's Russell Westbrook. I'm talking about just in general of being someone who can be a factor on this Sixers roster, whether it's a sixth man like a Lou Will, or whether it's someone in the starting lineup with Al Horford on the bench and Ben Simmons in the mix as well. I don't know what his role will be, but I know that he can actually help this basketball team to some degree if he can give you something like what he showed in that game. Now, once again, 39 points is not what I'm expecting, but just if you see that type of play where he can attack mismatches left and right, he was consistently attacking the mismatches, not afraid of the moment, whether it was step back threes, whether it was traffic, going hard to the rim. It was everything. It was absolutely everything. Coming around the pick, he has the mismatch. He's going to break down a defender off the dribble, and he's going to shoot the ball. The Sixers never run pick and roll. They never run pick and roll. You got to see that happen with Shake Milton. And in the NBA, in today's game, you do need to run the pick and roll. It is effective. It needs to be done. That's how you get your mismatches. That is what the NBA is these days. Pick and roll, get your matchup, attack. Pick and roll, get your matchup, attack. People are comparing him to Markelle Fultz. He's what people wanted in Markelle Fultz. And I understand the comparison. You wanted that combo guard, that 1-2 guard that can play with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Is he talented enough to really be that type of player? So let's dive into those other games I talked about. We know what he did against the Clippers. In 32 minutes against the New York Knicks, he had 19 points, 4 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. Keep in mind the talent level in the New York Knicks. They are a dumpster fire organization. 37 minutes, 20 points, and 4 assists against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And that was the dreadful loss in Cleveland, the most recent one, where the team underperformed, but Shake Milton did score 20 points, which was nice to see. In 26 minutes against Atlanta, 7 points. 7 points. Not what we want to see. But then, I mean, this is like his last 5 games. So of the 5, and this is the last one, 22 minutes, 17 points, and 2 assists against Milwaukee. Of the 5, you're seeing good play. There was one stinker against the Atlanta Hawks. Other than that, 17 points, 20 points, 19 points, 39 points. Where I see him now, it is in that 17 range. If you can get 17 out of Shake Milton, I would be thrilled with that right now. You need that type of scoring. You need scoring out of Shake Milton because this team doesn't have that guy who is willing to be like that. And I know things will change completely when Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid come back, so it's hard to really break down what Shake Milton can be. But with those guys in the lineup, you still need that shooting type of player. And is Josh Richardson enough of a shooting player? Well, right now he's going through concussion protocol, so who knows? But I mean, I guess he'll be back before Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid does anyway, most likely, you would think, you would hope, unless this is way more serious than it is perceived to be. It's hard to even tell what this team is, and that dates back to the conversation that I had against the Clippers. What are you going to do when you don't have the talent, when you're banged up, when you're down 3 starters, 2 of them being all-stars? What are you assessing when it comes to this team other than just watching the game? You're looking for standouts like a Shake Milton. But other than that, nothing that happens on this road trip without these players mean anything, because that's not going to be the team that plays in the postseason. That's not going to be the team that's playing the Miami Heat when it comes down to the first round of the playoffs, if that's even where they land. It's possible they will be the 6th seed if they're going to continue to lose basketball games when they don't have their talent available on the court. And then they would match up against the Boston Celtics, and they would, There's going to be growing pains with Milton. You're going to see times where he looks like the experience isn't there, and that's totally fine. That's what it's like being a young player in this league. I think one thing you'll notice with him is his talent is obviously there. And when you look at where he got drafted, it had to do with injury history. It didn't have to do with his ability. He went to a program in SMU. He went to a program with a very respected coach. People knew he was skilled. It came down to what happened with those injuries. Will he be able to recover? Will he be able to find a way to get on the court, be effective, be a guy who can be relied on when it came to health? And you got to give the Sixers actually credit for drafting someone that late with that type of potential, and look at what he's been doing. And you can maybe see something going on with Mariel Shayok as well, who just made a big shot for the Delaware Blue Coats to win a basketball game. And I feel like that's another type of player who, when later in the draft, who has potential to be a scoring type guard. I think there's more of an upside with Shake Milton than there is Shayok. But you get my point. I think that there's something to be said about getting these guys later in the draft that might actually be able to do something. Longer-term projects. I always claim that Shake Milton is more of a longer-term project. And what I mean by that is I don't expect him to just be what he was with that 39-point performance like this early. I don't expect him ever to really be that type of player. I'm just shocked with where he is right now. I thought he would need more time to develop, more time to really prove it, more time to gain experience, more time to be able to effectively knock down his shots and play with that type of swagger. I felt like it was in him, but just not ready to come out yet. And maybe that conversation with Brett Brown was really the difference maker. He felt as if he should be out there. He felt as if he's getting looked down upon with his skill with these new guys coming in. And there's no doubt he jumped over Glenn Robinson III. Every time his name comes up, it pisses me off. I can't stand that comment he made about not knowing his role. It was so pathetic. It was so pathetic. He's so focused on getting his money, and I get that's what it's all about when you're an athlete. It's about getting paid. It's about making millions of dollars and caring for your family, making sure your family is comfortable. I see that side of it. But he was so focused on getting his when it comes to stats because he's a UFA, because he wants to get paid, rather than being on a contending team who doesn't know his role. Oh, I don't know my role. You're missing wide open threes. Every time his name comes up, I'll just start going off about how pathetic it is. Doesn't know his role. Get out of here. Make a shot. These shots are wide open. Make a shot before you start talking trash. So my point is, Shake Milton clearly jumped over him. And the question is, where is he going to fit in this lineup? I would like to see him start. I really would, with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and Alec Burks can be that guy off the bench. I get why maybe putting him on the bench would be a spark for that second unit, someone you can actually maybe rely on to do something, but you can't put Al Horford back in the lineup. You got to have him come off the bench because he's almost unplayable. Crazy. It really is. The best way to describe it is hungry. The kid is just hungry. Seizing the moment. You saw the look on his face. That's not the look of a guy who is just content. He had a mission. He was on a mission. Wow. I'm excited to see him play against the Lakers. And I guess we can now transition to the Lakers because the Sixers are going to be playing them at that 10 o'clock start. And I'm so confused on how I feel about that 10 o'clock start right now. At times I like it, but I'm on a good sleep schedule, so it's going to mess me up a little bit. And I like it more if, say, the Flyers play at 7. So you get a Flyers hockey game at 7, then a Sixers at 10. You get a little bang, bang, double, who's your daddy, what's he do? But you don't get that right now, so it's just waiting till 10 o'clock. And at least it's something to look forward to that night, and it's something to watch late night because sometimes, you watch your game at 7, it's over at 9:30, you do your thing, and you're in bed by 10:30, 11. You're just kind of scrolling through, maybe watching SportsCenter. You might catch it twice because you watch the 1 hour, roll into the next. At least it's something to watch late night. But I'm starting to not like it as much as I once did, I'm not going to lie. You're not going to be with Josh Richardson, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons. It's going to be a problem. How am I supposed to expect this team to go in there and win? We talk about how big of a prime time game it was against the Clippers with Kawhi and Doc Rivers and Paul George. It's totally different playing the Lakers. The energy is 10 million times more going into the Staples Center. Now, this isn't primetime ABC on a Sunday, but it's going to feel insanely bigger just based off of the Lakers and LeBron James, and it's just a different level of intensity. I don't know if they're going to be able to hang in there and compete. Anthony Davis didn't play against Zion Williamson and the Pelicans, so LeBron ended up doing work, getting 34 points, 13 assists, and 12 rebounds, and carrying their team to victory, which is insane because the guy's 75 years old, and he's still doing it, and he's the greatest player I've ever seen, and by the end of his career, he probably will be the greatest of all time when you look at his statistics and how dominant he was. And yeah, do I really need to get into that argument again? I've been through it a million times in my life. LeBron James is so special. It's crazy. He's 9 million years old and he's still doing it at a high level. And it gets so thrown under the radar. It's not appreciated enough. The dude's 35. He touches a team. They're finals bound. Isn't that funny? Remember the Lakers last year? Remember the Lakers organization before he came? Who does he have besides Anthony Davis? Really? Who do they have? Don't tell me Kyle Kuzma. He stinks. Don't tell me Rondo. He's like a nice veteran piece. He's not why that team's succeeding. LeBron James is still carrying squads to finals. But anyway, to bring it back to my point with the 76ers, that's why I feel like they have no chance without their players. They're not going to be talented enough. They're on the road where they stink anyway. I don't think they're going to have enough talent. But at some point, they got to win games. Because I mentioned it. They might slip to the 6th seed. They might slip behind the Pacers. Although some would argue maybe that's a better matchup for them in the first round. I don't want to think that way. I disagree with that. I need to see them get the 4th seed. But right now, the standings is the least of my concerns. I need to get these players back healthy. I need to get Josh Richardson back. Ben Simmons, are we ever going to hear anything about him once he gets reevaluated in 2 weeks? Probably not. We probably won't. It'll be another 2 weeks. I believe that this is going to be more serious than we probably expected. I don't know if they have enough firepower to compete with the Lakers. It was nice to see them at least hang in there against the Clippers, but here's what I think occurred. The Clippers, they come into the game, they know the Sixers are banged up, they thought they would walk all over them, then Shake Milton started to go off and starting to dominate and started to catch on fire, and they thought, wow, okay, all right, this kid's making it a game. Enter the third quarter, which somehow people want to blame Brett Brown for, which there are times where the third quarter is bad because of Brett Brown. The third quarter was bad in this game just because, hold on, let me think about it. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, their roster compared to, the Sixers roster. And Al Horford, who can't hang, and was in foul trouble. Tobias, you will give you 25 a night, and that's what he is, shooting 21 shots. They got on Shake Milton. They put pressure on Shake Milton. Who's stepping up? Mike Scott? You want Mike Scott to step up? Do you want who? Glenn Robinson III to step up? Alec Burks to step up? They didn't have enough to step up. That's why they lost the game. The Clippers came out. They did their thing. They put the pressure on. They knew Shake was the only one really cooking. They got him in the spots, brought two guys, forced the Sixers to do something else, and they didn't have enough to do that. I can't believe I actually need to break that down. Can't believe Furkan Korkmaz is in there. Yeah, well, Ben Simmons would have been in there. Joel Embiid would have been in there instead of Mike Scott playing the 5. And it's almost as if you've never seen Mike Scott play the 5 for this team before. And it's almost as if, he held his own, knocked down some shots, held his own. There's only so much he can do, but it wasn't as if Kyle O'Quinn and those other big men were playing well enough. It's crazy, and it kind of dives back into the conversation of not every little thing is Brett Brown's fault. There's times where I absolutely agree to rip him apart, and there are specific moments where third quarters are bad. Third quarters are atrocious, and it is because of him. That game, though, that specific moment, no. And when you look at the rest of this road trip, you got to pray they win one game. Isn't that pathetic, though? That's where we're at. One game they got to find a way to win. Of the next 3. 2 would be a miracle, don't you think? Unless Joel Embiid finds a way to get on the trip, get to fly out west and find a way to play a game. But who knows if that's really going to happen. It's going to be a late night. I hope it's one of the games where I can at least pay attention to. Because sometimes it's so ugly by the second, third quarter, it's just on. It's just on. I hope it's a game where if I'm staying up that late, they at least show me some fight and they at least show me some will. And maybe there's a silver lining in there, like Shake Milton drops 30. Or Shake Milton drops 28, 12, and 4. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. I'm at least a little juiced and amped up to see Shake Milton play. Never thought I'd say that right now. But I'm at least excited to see if he can do it. Here's the thing. Teams now saw that. Teams now know that he scored 39. Teams now know that he had 39, 19, 20, 17. And he also, in February, one game had a 27-point game in Atlanta in 35 minutes. So now they know, without Ben and Joel and Josh, that he's going to be the guy that is capable of breaking down players off the dribble, that's capable of creating their own shots. Are they going to make his night a living hell and force other people to beat them? And if that is the case, uh-oh. Now, I don't know if he has that much respect yet to really dive on him. They might say, hey, let's see if he can do it again. And if he starts to do it again, then they might bring more heat. But say, hey, listen, let's see if he can really do it anyway to begin with before we start diving heavily on him. We'll see how the Lakers do it, though. I'm excited to watch LeBron, not going to lie. One of the best to ever do it, and he amazes me every single time he touches the damn floor. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. And I will see you next time.